Come on in, come on in. First of all, first time at Rouleur Live, and it's great to have you here. First of all, Esra, Tromp, for you, the team manager of EF-Oatly-Cannondale. It's not the first time that you have started a team from the ground up and been such an integral part of starting a team. You did the same at Jumbo-Visma, now Visma-Lease Bike, and you took all of your experience from being a professional rider and have done such a wonderful job with, first of all, Park Hotel back in the days, into Visma, and then now EF-Oatly-Cannondale. How's that been for you in year one this year?
First of all, thanks for having us here. Starting up a team is always a really big challenge because you need to understand, okay, what do we want to build and what is the existing culture in a team. So for me, when I started this job, I needed to figure out, okay, what is the DNA of EF, education first, and what do we want to achieve in the next couple of years. So yeah, the first couple of months was exploring that, and then you're building a team of riders with that DNA, that culture in them, and the stuff around it too. This year was challenging sometimes, especially when it's an Olympic year. You have all the goals, personal goals from the riders, team goals, of course, so it needs to be mixed and fit in with each other. So that was sometimes challenging, but yeah, I think we did quite well.
It was a challenge that you were ready to take on, and I mean, you say you did quite well. In year one, you've had 14 victories, and already at the very start of the season over in Mallorca, you won with Noemi, and you really took everybody by surprise. And it's not just opening the season well with victories, but 2 stage wins in the Vuelta Femenina, a stage victory with Clara Amond in the Giro d'Italia, and then of course now having the Olympic road race champion and team pursuit champion on the team in Kristen Faulkner.
Yeah. I think when we started this year, we set some high goals, but yeah, making it real, and when it comes out, then yeah, of course you're really happy about it. I think by starting up a team and being and working in professional top sports, then you're always finding, okay, hey, how can we improve and what can we do better? So you always looked more to that side than really celebrating the achievements and the results that we did. But yeah, I think we can be really happy, and especially with winning with multiple riders. I think that was, for me personally, the biggest goal for this year and also for in the future, that we want to win with as many riders as possible and not with one rider who makes the results in a team. Yeah, and seeing these youngsters doing really well too is also really important and cool.
It is important, and for you, Kim, you're relatively new to the sport, but it seems as though you've just taken it all in your stride. You've gone from strength to strength, and you've had some wonderful results. You went to your first Olympic Games, you got 7th in the individual time trial, which was just, it was such a phenomenal performance, but you had many standout performances throughout the season. But if you think 3 years ago, you were just taking your first steps in professional cycling. It's been quite the journey, but it feels like one that's gone quite quick for you.
Yeah, it's been like very rapid. I think back to 3 years ago, I was living actually in the UK and racing for a small team, and I had no idea what I'd got myself into. I just came over here expecting to sort of ride my bike around, and to jump into a race with 180 girls was just so foreign for me. And now, like, I just really look forward to every single season. This season has been, yeah, as you say, massive. But like, I've had so many experiences in the team every time. Like, we've had an opportunity to just give it a go. And I think all of the riders have just grasped that.
It's been a very different kind of journey for you, because you got into the bike, but before that you were working in New Zealand as a salmon packer. You were working full time, and you look at where you are now, 22 years of age, and the leaps and bounds that you've made. I mean, how did you get into cycling? How did you get into life as a pro?
I started as a swimmer, and then I just got bored of looking at the bottom of a pool.
Definitely nicer on two wheels, isn't it?
Yeah,
looking at the nature and the climbs and the mountains.
Yeah, my brother, he was a mountain biker, and my family, they fell in love with it, and I hated it. Absolutely didn't want a bar of it. And then I met my now husband, and he was a triathlete, and I just wanted to hang out with him. So he's like, oh, well, why don't you get a bike and start running? So I started doing that, and I did a few races, but running was always my Achilles heel. So then I just started riding the bike and did a few races in New Zealand, and met my first ever cycling coach. And he sort of explained to me what this whole road cycling thing was, because I had no idea.
It felt foreign to you.
Yeah, I was the only girl who used to ride her bike from the pool to school. I didn't know that you could race a bike on the road. And then, he introduced me to it. His daughter, she's in the peloton, and he introduced me to her and the whole scene. And then he's like, oh, there's an opportunity for you to go across and join a team in Europe next season if you want to go. So I just said, yeah, I'd go, and I went across and did some of the Tour Series crits in the UK, and then a lot of Belgium races that I'm not sure I loved. I'd never even seen a cobble before, and just hit my first race, and it was heaps of...
What did that feel like? Were you nervous? Were you scared? Were you excited? Oh, God.
Absolutely petrified. I got to the end and I couldn't even hold my bars anymore, because I'd been holding them so tight. I was holding them with my hands like this, trying to make it round. And I remember there was a girl from New Zealand who had also come across with me, and we'd been dropped, but we didn't crash, and we'd seen so many crashes that we never thought we'd see. And we had one lap to go. It was a 4 lap circuit, and we just looked at each other and we're like, oh, we're gonna make it. We are gonna make it round. And we got to the end, and we were both just overjoyed, in tears, just because we'd made it round the circuit. And then, at the time, we went for food with our team, and that was the success.
But did that feel like a win for you? The fact that you were doing something new, it was perhaps out of your comfort zone, you had no idea what to expect. Was it about taking things step by step and, okay, well, we need to tick off those little goals along the way to get to bigger success?
I think now I definitely look at it that way, after being in it a bit more. I think at the time I was just so out of my depth, so in a world that I had no idea. I think if people had told me about it, I would have run a mile. But then I was in boots and all. And I think, over time, as I then moved into, I signed with Jumbo, and then last year again with EF. This year it really feels like I actually have a clear picture of where I'm going, and I'm still learning. And there's a lot of development going on here. But Esra's actually been with me for the last 2 years, through both teams, and I think she's been the best thing ever for me, because she's sort of seen me as somebody who could push some watts on a turbo, stick me on there, but then put me out on the road, it's another game. And she's sort of channeled that chaos and sort of person who's walking around like this into actually knowing what she needs to do in the peloton, her job, and where she needs to be, trusting her teammates, and trying to slow down a really fast progression but also keep it going.
Esra, for you, how has that been, having a blank canvas, knowing that you've worked with Kim in the past at Jumbo-Visma, and having that opportunity to create your team and identify different talents and talent spot as well, and use your ability and knowledge and experience to bring together different riders and take a big chance on riders and give them an opportunity.
Yeah, that's what I like. I think what you see a lot in different teams that they're fishing in the same pool, and I want to do things different. And that's why, for example, with Kim, I thought, okay, hey, this is a girl with a lot of motivation. She is completely a blank canvas, what you said, and super motivated and eager to learn. And I think that are some qualities that you need to have as a rider, or in sports to make it. And of course, her physique is quite unique as well. So that combination, I thought, okay, hey, that's a good challenge. But of course, you can't have, next year we have 18 riders in the team. You can't have 18 of these challenges, because then you have
a big job, a big challenge on your hands.
Yeah, so it needs to be in balance. Experience, young girls, older girls, different type of riders, climbers, classic riders, sprinters, and a mix of characters too. That's sometimes quite a challenge, but I really love to shape, okay, hey, and reflect on what this year brought us, and how can we shape it for the future.
Having that team dynamic then, and having different types of riders, but it's also managing personalities and expectations and ambitions and goals from riders and what they want.
Yeah.
How big of a challenge, or does it come quite naturally to you to manage those personalities and also different nationalities, different cultures, people working in different ways?
That's also learning by doing, but also being interested in the person and really stick to what your values are and close to what you believe in, and open up the conversation. I think that's, I said it already earlier today to Kim, honesty is the key word. And if you just have that open conversation with each other, and then you can solve a lot of problems. This year was challenging for me and sometimes the coaches to manage the expectations, and especially with the Olympics, that riders have their own individual goals to make the selection, and fitting that all in a team where we have more than one winner is sometimes challenging, but that open conversation is extremely important then.
Now we're already, and I know you're already going to training camp on Monday to plan for 2025, and I know you've been spending time in Loughborough over the last 10 days at the university there and doing a lot of testing. When you set out your goals and ambitions at the start of the season, did you achieve everything that you wanted to, or did you exceed everything that you thought was
The funny
possible?
thing is that we started last year's camp with an exercise that I think it's really important that the goals don't per se come from my side, but it comes from the group. So I split the group up in smaller groups, and that the riders could figure out, okay, hey, what can we achieve with each other? What do we think is achievable for next year? And during the season, they were ticking all the boxes, and I heard from the DSs that there were some conversations, hey, again, we won again, and we are on number 10 or whatever. So it kept them really busy to complete all the goals from what they set. And actually, when all the riders came up with the goals, they needed to present that to the group, and I thought, okay, this is this will be a challenge, but they did it. So
I felt like it became like a challenge almost in the group. For the girls, we'd be in the bus and be like, oh, have we done that one yet? Like, we need to tick that one off.
Did you have a list?
Yeah,
a physical list
Yeah.
where you could physically tick it off and say, okay, we've achieved that now?
Yeah, I think, and then we were it became like quite amazing, but also quite almost probably hard for you to manage as well, because we were like, oh, what more can we achieve? Like, what more can we do this season? And like, we sort of started adding to it as well and seeing what else we could tick off. So, but it's like a really cool group of girls who are really motivated, and everybody sort of wants more for each other.
And I guess that's what you want from a team, that you can motivate each other. You've got motivated staff, you've got motivated riders, and everyone, you can have that great team dynamic. At which point in the season did you complete your goals and then have to start adding new targets? Do you remember?
I think it was more at the back end of the season.
Yeah.
So that's good.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, obviously we want more every year. But having that team dynamic where everybody motivates each other and backs each other up, that's important to set, and that's something you build in the beginning of the year. So next week, team camp will be important to setting that tone again.
You can have a look back on the season of what you've achieved, but Kim, for you, what have you learned from this season that you want to take into next year and to do better, to change, to adapt to? Is there something that you've identified that you want to try and take from this season and learn from?
I think, like, personally, I like look at myself and put myself where girls have a lot more experience. A lot of the time I'm not very patient with myself, so I need to be a little bit more patient with it going so fast and being in the peloton and then going into like being right at the pointy end of races and things. I sometimes like, oh, why didn't I react like that? Why didn't I do this? Like, why wasn't I there when I was supposed to be? And I think it's just like learning all of those small little things rather than expecting myself to just be, especially I rode with Corinne for 2 years, and every time like I was trying to do things like that she'd been doing since she was 8 years old, and getting so frustrated like with myself that I couldn't like weave my way through the middle of the peloton within 2 seconds and like watch her do it and be like, and then I just get really frustrated. So I think it's just trying to like learn to just slow it down and be a bit more level-headed and patient in those moments.
I'd say, look at this photo, it's an absolutely incredible photo from the Olympic Games. When you reflect on your first Olympics and passing here, thousands, hundreds of thousands of fans, and this moment at Sacré-Cœur on the steps too, how was that? Have you had time to process and realize what you did in the 2024 season?
Yeah, I think like the way my season sort of ended was a bit like disappointing for me, but then the Olympics was amazing. Like the time trial was definitely my favorite out of all of it. Just sort of like sitting there in the hot seat for so long, so many riders coming through, and I was like, oh wow, like I'm quite high up. But yeah, the road race itself was an interesting one for me. There was a lot of like crashes happening, so I got a bit blocked behind some of those. But then I think because I was so happy already with what had happened in the time trial, I kind of got to enjoy a lot of the road race, except I got dropped with Ellen Van Dyke, but she was putting me to the sword. She's like, oh, we need to make time cut. And I was like, we're definitely going to make time cut at this speed. Every single time. But yeah, like going past all the crowds and everything was just deafening. And we got to sort of enjoy it because we were kind of off the back of it. And just see all the crowds, all the kids out, everybody like on the banners, like banging away. It was insane. Like we just don't normally, I'd never seen crowds like that in cycling. I know some of the men's events have it, but it was really cool to see them out there for us as well.
Seeing that success and seeing what and how many riders you also had at the Olympic Games, Esra, must give you a lot of pride for yourself and the work that you've done and the way that you've been able to help your riders achieve their dreams and achieve a huge goal and a target in the season. And for you, where do you see next year? How do you want to try and top year one?
we need to win a stage in the Tour de France, so that's for sure. That's is on the list. I think the most important thing is that we make progress with everybody. And sometimes you forget how young these girls are. And Kim, 22, and here's a picture of after Liège, I think. Did amazing there. So big results in the Olympic Games, but also in other races. I think it's taking everything step by step, and if we grow as a unit, as a team, and all the riders individually, I'm really happy. And yeah.
Do you have a long-term plan which is set out in short-term goals each year, but then for the long-term plan for the team and the riders? And I know for you, Kim, you're with the team until the end of 2026, and you've got long-standing contracts, and you're bringing in a couple of new riders, and particularly one being Cedric Kerbal, who won a stage of the Tour this year, the Tour de France Femmes avec Swift this year.
Yep.
Have you got that in place in that structure?
Yeah, winning the Tour de France.
You want to win overall, win the yellow jersey.
Yeah, therefore we need to build the team of the future, and yeah, that's exactly what we are doing. With young girls like Kim, like Cedrine, but also an Alex Volstad, for example. We have a lot of young girls coming to the team, and with the experience of the existing riders, we can do the transfer of this knowledge and experiences, and hopefully we get ready for that overall victory in a couple of years.
Aside from the victory, what do you want the long-term legacy to be of EF-Oatly-Cannondale? Maybe not just for the racing aspect, but also for the worldwide community of cycling.
I want that we show fun in racing. How we win the races need to be like, everybody needs to remember, okay, how did Kim won a stage in the Tour de France? Because she will be doing that, and how special.
I heard it here first.
You know it now. Yeah, but how we win races, I think that's something we need to show fun, aggressive, putting it all out there, and enjoying being on the bike, racing against each other and with each other too. So yeah, that's for me the most important thing, is that we show fun, and along doing that we win a lot of races.
You talk about that fun, and fun on the bike, fun off the bike, and Kim, for you, there was a moment where you were thinking to leave the professional sport behind and not continue in the World Tour, and you see 1 year later where you are and what you've achieved, and you've got the great support and trust of Esra and the rest of the team. When you take a look back, how important has that been for you now to look back and think, well, I've made the right decision. I'm glad I've continued, and I'm glad that I've had people there to support me.
Oh, it's been massive. Like, I think I signed a 1-year contract for this year with the team EF with Esra, because I was so unsure where I fit. Like, I just didn't fit where I was, and I wasn't really enjoying it. And now I just feel like a completely different person in the group, off the bike, on the bike. Like, I really am myself again, and a lot of my friends and family have also said that. Like, when I'm with my teammates, like, I'm just having a really good time. We've captured a lot of moments, on the race TV and things this year, but we just all have a really great time together, and it's just the small things, like even in the Vuelta, like Kristen couldn't eat on the bike, and I ended up going back to the car, and I had to, she's like, I need bread, and I was like, I haven't got bread, like. And so Carmen, the race DS, is in the car filling out the sandwiches and trying to find something to give me, and then I ended up going to another car and picking up a baguette from one of the teams and riding through the peloton with a baguette, and Kristen's got a baguette hanging out her back, and she's like, yeah, that's what I wanted. And I was like, okay. And then the next morning, we're all on the team bus, and we're all like, let's let's make like Kristen some race nutrition. So we all made her like a sandwich to take. So she had like a stack of sandwiches this high, like on the last day of the Vuelta. And we all thought it was like a joke, but she actually took them like through in the race. I gave her like a sandwich with salt in it. And she had this in her back pocket. It's just like the small things that we just have really good crack in the team. Alison, all the different personalities, and I think that's the most important thing with our team, as Esra said, like the cultures, the personalities, we're all different, and you like pull us from different places and put it together, and I think that could be a massive problem for a lot of people, but actually it really works with us, because we're all really different, but appreciate it.
How important is that to be able to express yourself and be yourself and show your personality and not be afraid of what someone might think of you, and to be able to just be relaxed actually and just be yourself?
Yeah, it's in our group, it's the most important part, because none of us go, into the group and feel intimidated like we can't be ourselves, or we're all as crazy as each other. And so when we're in the group together, you can be yourself, you can do what you want, because no one really cares. We've all got weird quirks about us in the team, and that's what we love.
That's the beauty of it,
And
isn't it?
we've all got weird.
We
feel off it, yeah.
Yeah.
And we feel off it in the group as well. In the Vuelta, it wasn't planned, but every single time we won a stage, which is quite amazing to say we won more than one, our bus driver, he made a song for us. And we all started like singing a song for the person that won a stage at the dinner table. And that became like my biggest thing is learning to like move through the peloton. And Alison Jackson had her song, and the whole time they're like, oh, you need to be on Alison's wheel. And I was just like, for Alison, she's like, I'm not as good at communicating in the radio as well. And she's like, well, just sing my song to me. So I was like on her wheel, just singing Alison's winning song. Everyone's like, what?
Can you give us a rendition? Can you give us a...
Alison Jackson, da 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 da. Yep. That's what I wrote. Like,
very good.
Hour on the back of her wheel.
We're almost out of time here, but it's been such a pleasure to talk to you both and to have you here for the first time at Rouleur Live. Just quickly before we go, Kim, you've had some wonderful results at Liège and in stage races. What are your goals? What are your ambitions, short-term and long-term? What do you hope to achieve?
I think long-term, I want to win a stage at the Tour de France. There's no denying that. I think this year I'd like to, be consistently in the podiums or in the fight of the pointy end of the races, more like things like the Tour de Suisse and those style of races, 1.1s, and then, in the future just be able to be a really reliable rider in terms of results for the team, but also in the races.
Fantastic. And for you, Esra, already the preparation has been long and hard, and you've got lots to do ahead of 2025, but I'm sure you've already been deep into the planning and preparations, and already with the training camp starting on Monday.
Yeah. Normally they say, the winter time is the easiest and the quiet and the peaceful time. For us in the background, no. It's normally the most busy time of the year to plan everything, and planning to do better than last year. So
planning and looking ahead and achieving goals. Well, it's been absolutely wonderful to see how many people, even just standing room at the back. But for now, ladies and gentlemen, please give a round of applause to Esra Tromp and Kim Cadzow. Thank you.